No, taxpayers can't be forced to be a captive audience to Donald Trump's propaganda on almost every government website for every department. And no, you can't use taxpayer dollars in order to troll the Democrats because of the shutdown, a shutdown created by the Republicans, and not because the Democrats want to make sure that illegals have Medicare or Medicaid, as Carolyn Levitt has said. This is a fight over healthcare. This is a fight over public broadcasting and bringing it back. This is a fight over foreign aid. And we're also watching the Trump administration just blithely commit violations of the Hatch Act, of the Anti-Deficiency Act, and now there are new lawsuits. And at the very same time, Russ Vought, who I told you to keep an eye on, not only because he was the architect of Project 2025, but because he runs Donald Trump's checkbook as the head of the Office of Management and Budget, he's screwing American cities and making people suffer in order to pay back the Democrats, particularly two major transportation projects, which only make things better for Americans, which only make things better for voters that they need to remember at the midterms and beyond. He's cut a $2.1 billion project in Chicago to extend the Red Line to underserved areas, and an $18 billion project in New York that I've been hearing about since I was a child in order to put another tunnel under the Hudson as a backup plan between New York and New Jersey. But no, Russ Vought has decided that because some of the contractors might have been small business contractors, minority contractors, women contractors, that he was going to cancel the whole project. I'm Michael Popak. I'm back on the MeidasTouch network. My voice is coming back too. I'm glad you're here. Let's get into the story. If you go to the websites for every major department or agency of the Trump administration, you might have noticed even a day before the actual shutdown, you might have noticed something a little different. Propaganda that you and I are paying for and that we are captive audiences. All I want to do is find out about the Department of Education or Social Security or Treasury or something. And instead, I've got to be subjected to propaganda that apparently I paid for. Yes, it's all a violation of the Hatch Act. If you look at that, and we'll put some examples up on the screen here. If you look at the Department of Treasury, the Department of Education, the Department of Agriculture, the Department of Justice, the Department of Labor, U.S. Food and Drug Administration, you name it, Department of Commerce, all led by bootlickers and sycophants of Donald Trump, you're going to find messaging blaming the radical left for the shutdown. Okay. Some people were wondering in the very, very beginning, doesn't this violate any laws? And the answer is yes. There's already a new charge that's been filed by various public interest groups, including Public Citizen, who filed one that said that's a Hatch Act violation, which means you can't do politicking while you're on the public dole. While you're a public employee or a public resource, you can't do politics. And that's all this is. We know this is politics, both ends of it, cutting off all the projects to the blue states that are important to people and contribute to their suffering. Because again, the Trump administration wants to make you suffer. And also the propaganda that's up on these websites. We know it is. We know that's what they're doing. Let's watch Carolyn Levitt put it all together with her comment back to a reporter. Are you in favor of Medicare for migrants and illegal aliens and rapists or whatever she said? Let's run the clip.
Let me ask you, do you think that illegal aliens should receive Medicaid benefits? Medicaid benefits that go to the most vulnerable people in our country. That Medicaid benefits that were designed to help low-income families and Americans in our country. And what the Biden administration did is they allowed tens of millions of illegal aliens from all over the world to come into our country, yes, and they paroled them into the system. And you cover immigration, and you know well, it was a complete abuse of our immigration system. And they slapped a Band-Aid on these illegals. They called it temporary protective status. And then they allowed those illegals from all over the world to get free benefits. And you know who would like free benefits? Hardworking Americans who work their butts off every day who are living paycheck to paycheck because of the Biden-induced inflation crisis. And there were higher wait times at hospitals under the Biden administration. We saw these illegals committing crimes all over our country, and they're getting things for free. That is fundamentally unfair, and this administration is not going to.
No, Carolyn, we're not. But that's not really what this fight is about, is it? Every time they want to come up with a policy decision that is depraved, they say that, well, if you're against it, you're for pedophiles. I mean, it's ironic for an administration that is continuing to cover up for the Epstein pedophile ring with Donald Trump all over the files. It's ironic that they talk about pedophiles and child rapists and murderers on the street every time we try to have a policy discussion or point out the depravity of their own policy decisions. No, what this fight is about, Carolyn, is I almost called her Virginia, is about healthcare, about refunding the Obamacare and healthcare for children and Medicare and Medicaid, not for migrants, for ordinary Americans who are suffering under your administration and your boss's policies. We want to return public broadcasting, which was killed, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, PBS, NPR, all the things people listen to without much politics, just good old-fashioned American values, baseball, apple pie, mom, and public broadcasting. We'd like that back. And then foreign aid, which is not about, oh, you're violating principles of America first. We're not. We're trying to promote American interest and values around the world and make sure we're not creating the next generation of terrorists. That's what that's all about. Now, Donald Trump hasn't been shy. Neither has Russ Vought, the head of the Office of Management and Budget. Donald Trump is, besides claiming on that now infamous speech, first time in American history, an American president said he was going to send the National Guard and the U.S. military into U.S. cities because there is a war and they're the enemy combatant, effectively. First time we've ever had that. In addition, he said out loud, Donald Trump, that he's going to cut programs, meaning he's going to hurt Americans in cities and states led by Democrats. Let's play the clip.
There was an OMB memo going around suggesting that there might be firings during the shutdown. Do you think that will happen if the shutdown goes for a little bit of time, sir?
Well, there could be firings, and that's their fault. And it could also be other things. I mean, we could cut projects that they wanted, favorite projects, and they'd be permanently cut. So you could say, a lot of people are saying, Trump wanted this, that I wanted this closing, and I didn't want it. But a lot of people are saying it because I'm allowed to cut things that should have never been approved in the first place. And I will probably do that.
Yeah. So what do we do with what's going on? Well, you got a Hatch Act violation if you post this propaganda blaming the Democrats on the websites. Now, the way that you start that is you find a party that has standing. Most of us do. We file the lawsuit, which is already started, and then we get it up to a judge. If there's a Hatch Act violation, it's a fine, but also can bar you from federal service for 5 years. The people that lead these agencies, who are, it's not just going to be an anonymous head of the Department of Treasury. It's going to be Scott Bessent. It's not going to be an anonymous head of the Department of Commerce. It's going to be Howard Lutnick. It's going to be Linda McMahon at the Department of Education. It's going to be Pete Hegseth at the Department of War if they violated these Hatch Act violations. Now, normally it's brought by the Office of Special Counsel, which is not a prosecutor. It's just a weirdly named office that's supposed to be a watchdog. But nobody's running that office right now because of the shutdown. And even before then, Donald Trump doesn't have a permanent head. He's got a trade representative that's sitting in that office as a crash test dummy. There's also, besides the Hatch Act, it's also a violation of the Anti-Deficiency Act, which usually we start hearing about during shutdowns. The Anti-Deficiency Act, in some, and you can, there's a lot of chapters to it under Title 31 of the U.S. Code. But when you boil it all down, it comes down to Congress and agencies and departments, or at least agencies and departments, can't spend money they don't have, can't spend money they haven't been allocated. Usually comes up during shutdowns because they don't have money, and yet they go out and continue to spend. So if they're continuing to spend to keep these websites up and with the propaganda on it, one of the theories is you just violated the Anti-Deficiency Act. Now, there's been cases over it. No one's ever been convicted of it, or has there been a successful suit on the Anti-Deficiency Act? But it is on the books, and there is a new charge that's been filed under the Anti-Deficiency Act that we're going to follow closely. That's been brought by Democracy Defenders Fund. And then you've got just like the overall bringing attention to this issue. I don't think, even though the polling is a little bit weirdly mixed right now, Americans, according to recent polling as of today, think we're so polarized that our political system can't solve our problems. 65% or more of the American people say we're so at extremes that the political system as a whole, can't fix our problems, that we can't have legitimate policy debate because it's so suffused with rancor and dissent and discord and inhumane attacks on other human beings. I mean, for Russ Vought to say he's going to kill transportation projects because he doesn't want women and minorities to get contracts, I mean, are we okay with that? Now, the polling says we're not. I'll end the hot take this way. Right now, 61% of America on every issue that Donald Trump has tried to force down our throats for the last 11 months, he's been rejected. 61% say unfavorable, says shame on Donald Trump. Only 39%, which means he's lost a fair amount of Republicans and a fair amount of MAGA, and probably all the independents if you really break it down. Now, we don't win on a poll. We win at the polling place. So we got to use that information, use that motivation, use that enthusiasm, and hold Trump accountable, not for the shutdown, for the suffering, for the crushing of people's hopes and dreams that are American citizens. His fellow Americans, which he's already divided up into. This is a small MAGA-based group that I really like, and I'm going to spend a lot of time with their teacher's pet, and everybody else is the enemy. And I'm going to punish them. That's the president of the United States right now. And that's not going to change. And everyone that enabled him, everybody on the in the administration should be held accountable. They don't have immunity from criminal prosecution. They don't have immunity from impeachment proceedings held in the future. They don't act like they're accountable to anybody. They certainly don't act like they're accountable to the American people. But we'll continue to hold them accountable right here on the MeidasTouch Network and on Legal AF. I'm Michael Popak. Take a moment, come over to Legal AF, the YouTube channel. We're continuing to build that channel, with our march to 1 million before we get to the new year. And with your help, we'll get there. Legal AF Substack, we're about to hit, about 100,000. We're at 90,000 right now. We've been up and running about 3 or 4 months. We have content there you won't find anywhere else, including live reporting that I do and other written commentary from our contributors on Legal AF, only on the Legal AF Substack. So until my next report, I'm Michael Popak.
Hey everybody, Ben Meiselas here from the MeidasTouch Network. I wanted to let you know about my podcast partner, Michael Popak's new law firm. It's called the Popak Firm. Michael Popak's pursuing his dream of starting his own law firm, really based on the popular demand by all the Meidas Mighty and Legal AFers who were approaching Michael Popak with their cases and saying, can you help us? And at that time, Popak was not able to. So he went out on his own. He started the Popak Firm, where he is now handling catastrophic injury cases like car accident cases, trucking cases, malpractice cases, big negligence cases, wrongful death cases. So if you or someone you know have a case like this, the consultation with Popak's firm is free. Give him a call. See if you have a case. It's thepopakfirm.com, thepopakfirm.com, or you can call 877-POPOK-AF, P-O-P-O-K-A-F. So 1-877-POPOK-AF. Give Michael Popak a call. And I'm really proud of you, Popak. Thanks for all the hard work you're putting in.